Going on, guys? It's the old weeb, and talking today about another, I would say, controversial topic, and it's the idea about what is called gatekeeping. I'm sure you're part of any fandom, and especially sometimes if you've been, the opposite sex, that you've been kind of confronted with people who would tell you that you don't belong in this fandom because you don't know certain things, or you haven't been through certain things, so you don't have the true appreciation for what this idea is. And I'm here to say they're not all wrong. Some are base, some are cringe. Let's get into it. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck am I talking about when I say that gatekeeping is valid? It's the fact that I think gatekeeping is done in a way that kind of beguiles the point, but also doesn't address the underlying issue. And it's that people who tend to gatekeep are people who feel like they have been mistreated for being part of something first. The biggest culprits for gatekeeping tend to be nerd cultures and nerd fandoms like anime, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, even sports sometimes. And the idea is that people who are really into these kind of things had a certain kind of character created about them from others who are on the outside looking in. And some people who, made judgments. This is a fact. People would judge, anime fans, video games, etc. back in the old days. And it wasn't really until things became more mainstream that people actually gave things a chance and realized, whether they like it or not, or whether or not they were wrong. And once they kind of do, and they join the community, for people who they may have wronged in the past, they have a type of way they feel about it and say, no, you can't be part of this. No, you don't deserve it. Or no, you're not a real fan because of this, that, and the third. And that's a legit place to come from, where you feel like you've been wronged by certain people and now they're a fan of something that you just get made fun of. That's a valid feeling. And then what tends to happen wrong is that the way of gatekeeping is kind of then misconstrued, and it's more of not gatekeeping, but more of a defense mechanism. Like in relation to, I would say, anime gatekeeping, I think, needed to be a thing for the time of where it was at. And to this day, I would say we have lost some level of quality through the gates being torn down. And that's because with anime becoming as mainstream, as popular as it is, we're getting more and more and more anime to watch and consume, which makes our watch lists grow more and more and more, which is really hard to keep up. But I would also say the overall quality of shows has dropped to an all-time low. Like when it comes to studios producing certain shows and greenlighting ideas, you could say, wait, no, there's plenty of out there shows like Odd Taxi. There's things like Ranking of Kings, which I believe is a webtoon. I could be wrong, as well as a few other out there shows that maybe never would have gotten a chance to become an anime had things not become more profitable for the anime community. But I want to take a step back and truly evaluate this current state of the anime community, not the fans. Fans is a different part of this video. But when it comes to the overall quality of show writing, character design, detailed backgrounds, more of the meat and potatoes of animation that we really care about as people who've watched the medium for over 10 plus years. And I could say from rewatching some 2000s anime, the animation quality, even though the technology was not as strong, is overall better. There's a lot more detail put into the design of the characters, the backgrounds, the shadows, the shading, the buildings. There's times you see in some animes nowadays, they're literally just blobs of white avatars in the background of certain characters because they're not important. And, studios are on crunch times, they got budgets, all these things that lead to characters kind of just losing out on potential shine, and also the fact that they don't have to fill in gaps in the show. We have literal animes where characters just straight up are Cyborgs cutouts. Now you may be wondering, what the heck does that have to do with gatekeeping? And I think it's because the anime community was a lot more, I think, appreciative and liked what we were watching, maybe because we didn't know any better, but at the same time, I feel like we needed to enjoy what we had, and therefore we had a greater appreciation for the animation of its time, and which I would say the golden age of anime was between the year 1996 to 2012 was the golden years, when you have the big three. You have Rave Master, you have, Spiral, you have Gurren Lagann, Code Geass, Death Note. The list could literally go on for like another hour of how many great animes came out during that decade and a half. But one of the byproducts of that was that we gave anime more of a chance. We also gave anime more of a, that's anime. We didn't really have the kind of vocalization that comes with today's anime fans. And let's get into that. I want to say by classifying today's anime fans as anyone who's become a fan of anime in the last 10 years. So around 2014, 2015 till now. They're different. And they are different in a way where they feel a lot more entitled than anything else. The way we have them kind of like bullying and harassing voice actors and designers and the authors, the studios, etc. Not even considering the conditions some of these studios are facing with the lack of pay, the lack of respect, and the inability to even go home. But they're so entitled with the constant access to these waves and waves of anime that if something isn't doing some their particular liking, but they have a great connection to the show for any variety of reasons, positive, negative, shipping, etc., they get all their feelings hurt and they start, just raging out online because they don't understand boundaries or the fact that they should appreciate the fact that they have way more options than we had. The fact of the matter is that I would say that one of my biggest pet peeves in the anime community, and I hold this to this day, is people who complain about art style. They say they can't watch a show because of its art style. And I'm over here who's watched shows at 144p, 360 on YouTube in 3 different parts with various degrees of buffering, acting like art style is not that important. Now, for some people, if art is like their biggest bugaboo, I don't know how much anime you're gonna really watch, because there's some shows that are just out there, but their stories are the most important, and I think we need to harp on that. And the thing is, though, people would say, that's kind of a weird take to have, or you shouldn't be judging those people for their preferences. And it's like, yes, I can. It's part of my job as a fan of the media to tell people that the point of watching the story is to not only look at good animation, but also to connect to the characters and enjoy the story through whatever media. I've watched some of the wildest animations of Fooly Cooly, Bobo Bobo Bobo, Excel Saga, Panty and Stocking, Ruby, the list goes on. But you know what I do? I enjoyed the heck out of both the characters, the stories, and sometimes the voice actors, because, at a certain point in time, we have kind of had a monopoly on voice actors, and I think that's more due to how hard it is to get in the industry, but also what happened with 2016. We're not going to go into that. But in relation to the rest of it, yeah, we're allowed to have the opinion, and yeah, we're allowed, I would say, to judge someone who we think is, misunderstanding what the medium represents. Now, if you're on this whole knowledge that all gatekeeping is bad, I don't know why you're here, but the point being is that gatekeeping in itself is not always inherently malicious. It is done in a way to protect what they think is going to be harmed when the mainstream gets its hands on it. Because, like I said, the overall quality of anime has gone way, way down. And, say superheroes, I'm not going to get into that to a different video, but people might say, the MCU did a great thing for the superhero genre at the time, but now it's kind of fading away and kind of making it worse off for wear. There's definitely still some great heroes and stories. I need to check out X-Men 97. Hopefully it's going to be as good as the X-Men I used to watch. But there's still, that hardcore fan base. But when you get to the mainstream and you have less of a barrier to entry into a fandom or a group of demographic people, you're going to run into more people having opinions and it leading to more toxicity than there already was. And don't get me wrong, the anime community has been toxic for generations, but it doesn't change the fact that with new people coming in who don't appreciate the medium as we did, because we appreciate what we had, what we could get our hands on, because finding anime before Crunchyroll and Funimation were a thing was a challenge. We're allowed to tell these people, you don't know like we do, you don't appreciate like we do, because you were spoiled. And it might seem like I'm coming harsh on down new anime fans and the anime community, and I was saying, no, I'm not. I'm probably echoing the sentiments of a lot of anime fans. And I remember a buddy of mine said something to me last week where you could say something is true, but you're giving credence to people who make bad faith arguments, who just want to be either racist, misogynistic, creepy, etc., or they want to feel a sense of empowerment and entitlement because they happen to be there first. And I think you can't say something is wrong if it's true just because it comes from the words of someone you don't want to agree with. Because at the end of the day, an argument is not the same as a person. An argument is just a series of words, and usually logical points, facts, citations, etc., that help prove a premise. And I do believe that there's a place for the idea of gatekeeping, because you don't want something to be diluted. You don't want to lose what makes it feel special, or you don't want to lose what makes it enjoyable in the first place. So we're going to be signing off here now with this kind of thought experiment. I want you to think about this. What do you really think the anime community would be like if it wasn't as mainstream? Do you think certain characters would still resonate and be as beloved with the community, I guess not as big? Or do you think that this was always an inevitability because certain character story types, character models in general would just break through to the mainstream and this was always inevitable? And from there on, I was thinking, do you miss the old ways in which we know we're going to get high quality, good number of anime and not just be stuck in kind of like this seasonal hell cycle? Let me know. GG's, guys.